Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I would like to show y'all how to make your very own wire wrapped dice in this pattern. Now, even though I'm wrapping a D20, which is a dice commonly used in like tabletop gaming, you can wrap whatever you want. This would work great for marbles. This would work really well for like tumbled gemstones, or basically whatever you have that is or isn't drilled. I really like it for undrilled stuff because it doesn't have to be drilled, but if it is drilled, it doesn't really make much of a difference. And then also for stuff that is not flat, so like very like bulkier three-dimensional pieces. So let's go ahead and get started. I've gone ahead and cut 4 12-inch sections of 18 gauge square wire. You can also do this with round wire, but I really love the way that square wire flashes, and it's real nice. I like it. All the wire I am using is from ParaWire.com. All the links to tools and materials will be down in the video description below. And then I also have about a 12-inch section of 18 gauge half round. And the metal tone that I'm using today is gold and champagne. You can see the gold is a little bit more yellow, but I thought that was a nice contrast. And then, as always, I have my handy dandy nylon jaw pliers, my flat nose pliers, and I try to find something that has a very nice thin nose on it. You can see how thin that goes. Whereas some, the flat nose pliers that I use like in my chainmail have a much broader tip. And we'll see later why it's important that this is just as narrow as we can get it. If you know anybody with like a grinding wheel and some free time, you might be able to ask them, or do it yourself, to grind a pair of pliers down to a little bit of a finer tip for you too. Then flesh cutters. It's come to my attention that it sounds like I'm saying flesh cutters, which they are also that, but you'll want wire snips that can give you a nice flat cut on one side, as opposed to wire snips that give you a pinched effect on both sides. Ouch. And then we also have round nose pliers. Handy dandy. Okay. And also I'm noticing, except for the wire snips, the springs have broken out of all of these. And then you could use a marble or any kind of roughly shaped like nugget or something, like a tumbled gemstone. But today I'm using a very nice D20. It's a 20-sided dice used in tabletop gaming. They're pretty iconic and just super fun to play with. So let's get started. We're going to take our half round wire, and I'm going to come in about ½ inch from the end, and I want to use a part of the nose of my pliers that is about the thickness of the 18 gauge wire. And if I had to err on the side of too small or too big, I'd go just a little big, and then giving it a nice solid bend, just like that. And now I'm going to stack these 4 wires all lined up with each other, side to side. And I'm just going to wrap this half round around these wires. And you can see we have a clamp here that we could actually use. This was gifted to me by one of my friends here on YouTube. And we can actually just secure this between the jaws and bring that together. And if that helps you, do it. There's no reason to not use the tools that are at our disposal. And so from here, I'm going to hold the tail of the half round, and I'm just going to bring this up and around. Like, kind of see how that works? And then I'm going to continue, and I'm going to wrap probably, that's my 4th rotation, 5 rotations. And I want them to end where this wire's coming towards me and this one's coming away from me. I mean, this one, it could be flip-flopped, but I just want to make sure that they're coming off in opposite directions. And now I'm actually going to remove the clamp. Man, that thing really holds it secure though. Very nice tool. And I'm going to scooch this down, make sure it's nice and centered. And then I'm going to use my nylon jaw pliers to get in here and just smush that tight. And you can see with the square wire, you can really tell when they're all facing the same way. And we've gotten it nice and flattened, kind of tucking everything nice and tight together. And I'm going to lift these two ends away from the rest of the wire just a little bit, and I'm going to come in with my snips and snip, just like that, about at the halfway mark. Snip, okay. And then I'm going to smush it back down, smush and smush. And so now we're going to want to do this twice more, about an inch or so out on each side. And we can kind of gently but firmly encourage the wire to be a little less curved. You know, straighten it out a little bit since it's off the spool, wanting to just kind of, there we go. So we're coming in again, doing that initial bend, placing it onto our core wires, and then wrapping once. Well, that's actually 3, 4, and 5. So now you can see there, it's just sitting like that. And I'm going to go ahead and smush. And then lift these out just a little bit. Snip, oh, that got away from me, and snip. Smushing that down nicely. And then we get to do the same thing on the other side. Now, if you cut it, or if you bend it just a little too tight, you can see there's some extra space right there, if I can get the camera to focus on it. And so if that happens, what I do is I just get on in there, I open it back up, and I re-bend it. Because I want this to fit very snug down to the edge. See how that's sitting? Very snug onto that flat side. And so now, yeah, that's one rotation, or one layer, I guess. 2 layers, 3. And as I wrap, I'm trying to make sure that it's not overlapping on itself, but they are very, you know, snug, shoulder to shoulder. 4. And then there's our 5th one. And then before I smush it, I'm going to make sure it's the same distance away from our center as what the other one is. Just because the tighter we make this, the more difficult it's going to become to slide it around. Bring those out, snip, and snip. Get everything nice and tight together. Okay, and so now that's the beginning. And this concept here is very similar to whether I were setting something that's 3-dimensional or something that's a flat back cabochon. But now we're going to take, you could use anything round that's roughly about the right size, but I have a ring mandrel here, and from prior experience I know that a D20 is, at least on this mandrel, around a size 11 in circumference. So I'm just going to hold it up to there, and now bringing this around, I'm just going to keep shaping all of these wires. And that can be easier said than done, because this 18 gauge can get pretty stiff on you, especially after a generous amount of smushing. So there we go. But you can double check your work and make sure, yeah, it's actually a little loose. So we'll bring this in on the shoulders. Oof. I've sacrificed many a nice manicure to wire wrapping. Sorry, I don't mean to wander off camera, but I feel like I have a little bit more strength behind it. As I bring my arms in closer to my body, I can bear down on it more. Okay. And I also like to use just this side, the nylon side of my pliers, to kind of smush and shape a little bit too. That one came down just a little too far. How does this sit? Well, that's much better. Okay. So now from here, I'm going to try to get my fingernail. You could also use, oh, I don't have any tools directly on hand. Yes, I do. What am I talking about? Where'd you go, little? There it is. A T-pin. Now be careful, for this is very sharp and pointy, and we are made of meat. But I'm just going to try to get in here. And you can actually do it from the inside if you'd rather. That way if you mar up your wire, it's not going to be as visible. You can see I've just pushed it through just enough that I can now leverage it out. And then I'm going to bend with my flat nose. And this is, again, a part where it's very important that you do have some petite noses on your pliers, because it's going to let you get in there, in theory, and bend it forward. See how that kind of worked? And so let's do that again on the other side. Coming in from the back, pressing it, getting that pin through. And now inserting our pliers. And for encabochons, oops, I've done this in the past where I'll grab it this way and kind of bend it in. But on this one, I need it to be three-dimensional, so I'm grabbing it and I am lifting forward. And so you can see how that's going to kind of nest and hold on to... Oh, no you can't because I'm off screen. Haha. Sorry. Oh, you'd think I'd have the hang of this by now, but I really don't. How it would nest around the D20. So I'm actually going to deepen that bend just a little bit more. Boop, because I really want this to be nice and secure. There we go. And if you guys are watching this and you're wondering, well, how would I temporarily hold my D20 in a pendant so that I can still take it out and play with it? I'll be doing a tutorial on a different technique for a removable cage in a future video. So I'm going to come around and do that same thing to the other side. Or try to. Again, let's be real careful to not stab ourselves. I don't know how many times I have actually done that, and it never gets any nicer. Like, I've also seen wire wrappers get in there with like a pocket knife. Something that has a nice like stable blade that you can just kind of insert. There we go. But I like the pin because it can only stab me. It can't also cut me. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And so inserting the nose of my pliers. And bending up. So inserting the nose of my pliers, getting just as close to that wrapped joint as I can, and bending up. And you can see it's good that we left ourselves just a little bit of space, because the more I do this, the more it kind of contracts the whole circumference down. And so I feel like we'll be a lot more able to be snug on the dice now from here. Now also, I'm going to get this pin back in between the sides. There we go. Just to wiggle it open just a bit, because I want to be able to fit my my pliers in there. And on this side, I'm just going to open it up just a little. There we go. Okay, so now our cage is basically done. We can choose whichever side we like better to be the front. That's the wrong dice. And we can open it up just a little bit at the top, but it's upside down. So once we have it in there, we can kind of turn it around. Most folks like the D20, like the 20 side facing out, but it's your dice, do it however you like. Or if it's a marble and it doesn't really matter, then just do however suits you. So now from here, I'm going to take, and I'm holding on this far end and pushing up with my thumbnail to give it a little bit of a curve. But before I do that though, I want to cut about from my mid knuckle to fingertip, so maybe about 1.5 inches. There we go. And I'm going to do that on this side as well, the frontmost, like the corresponding wire, but on the other side. There we are. And so from there, I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm going to grab as close to the tip of the pliers and as close to the tip of the wire as I can. And I'm going to spiral this down. Oops. And I don't want this one to be three-dimensional. You could totally have the spirals be really however you want, but it is your own piece of artwork, so you do it however makes you happy. And so now I'm going to bring these two wires in. I'm going to come up, just straight up from where we have the wrapping. And I'm going to do that same thing on the other side, just get some of these wires out of the way. And come up on this side as well. And so now from here, I want to cut that same length on this back wire. And same length on this back wire. There we go. Save all of these because we'll be able to use those for something else. And with each of these, I guess it ends up being 4. We're going to do 2 spirals on the front side and 2 spirals on the back side. Please pardon the traffic and neighbor noises. It's a beautiful day, so we have the windows open. But I have to get these swapped, so what I'm going to do is kind of just bring them around. There we go. And swap them with each other. Doing the spiral on the other side. And you can see they kind of behave to hold the dice in even more. And so now we are at the final point. And we could do basically whatever you want. Something that I'm going to do from here is actually a little different from what I normally do. And that is I'm going to take these two, and it's going to take a lot of hand strength, but put a very nice solid twist. Just one side right around the other, same way that you would like any twist tie or anything like that. And then I'm going to bring them up as close to vertical as I can, coming away from the pendant. And this is going to be kind of difficult, but I need this to be centered up over the center line, like of the 20. And right now it's a little offset to the left. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take my nylon jaw pliers, and I'm just going to trying to bend it off to the side a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to use this mechanical pencil as a mandrel, And I'm just going to bend these wires around. And you could do this one wire at a time, or again, however suits you. With the 18 gauge, it can be kind of difficult because they are very stiff wires. So just pressing and bending around. And it's hard to grip because it's round. So we're going to start with one and just bring it around to the back side. And take another and bring it around to the back side. And take another and bring it around to the back side. And then our last one. And don't you worry, we'll be able to get that nice and straightened up. You can keep the mandrel inserted, or mechanical pencil inserted, if you want a little bit more stability in your bail. And so that's how it's coming out so far. And so from here, what are we going to do about all these fun little bits flying off in that direction? And so I'm going to snip the topmost one, and I'm going to bring that in as another spiral. And it's going to be centered up on the back side of the bail. There we go. And I'm sure you could think of so many different decorative and fun things that you can do. This one I'm going to bring around. I have a little bit of open space between the edge of the dice and the wire, so I'm just going to insert through there. Or try to. There we go. And pulling that down and tight. And I'm just going to give us a snip pretty close to what we're doing, because I just want to finish this with a little loop. And so I'm actually going to come in and snip again, but take the head of my nylon jaw pliers and really press that down and in. I don't want any scratchy bits that can get caught on anything. And then, didn't mention these earlier, but I always keep them on nearby my bent nose pliers. There we go. And we can take that and again just really make sure that that loose end isn't going to be bothering anybody. And so with this 18 gauge wire being quite stiff though, we can come in and do that again. Bring that up, putting a nice little curl in it, and then coming in, and you can see I'm using the flat side of my pliers. That way I get a nice flat head right there. And just bringing that around and really pushing it in. And you can double check with your finger and make sure that you aren't getting any rough bits. And so for this third one, I'm going to repeat the same. And they're just stacking quite nicely on each other, as discreet as I can off to the side. So just bringing it around. But this one, I actually think I might just finish and do a little spiral. So snip. And oop. Yep, just around like that. Now I actually don't want that hiding behind that wire, so I'm gonna come in and really push on it. There we go. And excellent. So now we have our wire wrapped D20. It's the front, the side, and it has a little bit more going on than what I might have originally imagined. But that's part of what lends itself to each piece being so unique and so fun and a little bit of an adventure, is sometimes it's nice to not just stick to the map. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me during this video. I do hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. And if you follow along with my videos and would like to share pictures of your work, links to all my social media will be down in the video description. As will links to my Patreon, because these videos that I produce every day are brought to you by my very generous patrons. And if you'd like to participate in that, pledges start at just $1, but you can also go over there and check out some of the stuff that we post that's available for everybody to see. We do a lot of behind the scenes pictures and things, as well as the more you pledge, the more you get. We do a giveaway every week now, as well as digital download content, monthly craft crates, and lots of behind the scenes pictures and stuff. But yeah, thanks to everybody who likes, shares, subscribe, supports us on Patreon, follows us on Facebook, just watches and crafts along with me. Like, thank you guys so much for everything. So until next time, happy crafting, and I'll see y'all around. Bye.